Perhaps the most important function of contributors in StyleZone is uploading styles with high-quality visuals that can accurately represent the appearance of a garment or outfit. We'd like to welcome you to the first persona-based lesson for contributors, where we will review best practices for evaluating and improving the output quality of ray trace renders to prepare for uploading to StyleZone. This lesson will summarize some of the learning concepts introduced in vStitcher 301, Renders and Exports. If you have not yet viewed this course in vStitcher 301, we suggest completing that lesson before moving forward. With that out of the way, let's get started. We'll first ensure that our fabrics use high-quality texture maps, and that diffuse map images are not pixelated or blurred. This example shows our fabric texture with poor image quality and poor heather fabric tiling, next to an example of the same material with good quality and tiling. If the fabric tiling is not seamless, it may look patchy after we render it. This fabric in vStitcher looks good. When we zoom into the garment, we can see that the heather fabric tiling is much more realistic. vStitcher uses PBR or physical-based render maps for its materials to make garments look true to life. When selecting a material, we can see its texture maps in the context view to the right of the 3D window. The diffuse map displays the base color and texture of a material, and the normal map will determine the texture's depth. Adjusting the specular, roughness, and displacement maps can also give rendered garments a more true-to-life look. The next item to check will be the garment seams. Seams added from the Browseware Cloud library contain the same 3D maps as fabrics and other materials. We want to apply proper seams or construction methods according to our tech pack for the garments. The next step will be checking that stitch construction on all edges is correct. To accurately preview the appearance of these seams, we can use the V-Ray Ray Trace preview. If needed, we can increase or lower the depth values to achieve the desired look. Finally, we check the corner seam alignment of these seams to be sure that they overlap correctly at the garment corners and that there are no gaps on those corners. Here's an example of the correct seam alignment option shown next to an image of that same corner with incorrect seam alignment. These options are chosen from the Resources context view in vStitcher and Loda. We'll continue by checking the rest of our materials. Using high-quality images and the correct maps for our artwork and trims will help a render to look more realistic. If our materials or trims are not already 3D assets, we can use these advanced PBR maps within vStitcher to adjust the appearance of the materials to our desired look. Here, we have stitched a separate pattern piece with a faux chain edge assignable trim applied, instead of adding the chain image on an internal line of the skirt pattern. This shows the different results of using these two options. As we can see, assigning the chain to a separate piece makes the faux chain appear much more realistic. In this example with the chain and D-ring, we've also used auto-generated depth maps to create the illusion of depth. In addition to using high-quality images, we should also check that the file size of our materials is not too large, since large files may slow down vStitcher or be difficult to share. The recommended size at 100% for material textures is around 10 cm by 10 cm and roughly 300 dpi. While checking the garment, it is best practice to tidy up the workspace and prepare the file for sharing as well. We want to be sure to arrange all patterns neatly in the 2D window, delete or hide any patterns that are not in use, ensure that our patterns are named correctly, delete any unnecessary snapshots, delete all unused materials, and clean up any unused colorways. Here's a tip. We can delete any unused materials by navigating to the Colorways workspace and selecting Delete All Unused Materials. Next, we make any necessary styling simulation adjustments to ensure that the garment fits as intended. For example, we can add double fabric physics or edge properties such as force multiplier where needed. We check that small pattern pieces use a smaller grid size and that larger patterns use a larger grid size, since grid size will affect how our garment drapes in 3D. While we're checking the grid size, we can also check the 3D window for any visible 3D collision. Next, we'll check our settings and preferences. Let's first check the lighting. We want to ensure that the garment is not overexposed or underexposed in our renders. We may also want to consider if the lighting choice is suitable for the style that we are going for. If lighting standards are specified in our brand's VQS, we can use those HDRI settings. Here we can see an example showing the comparison of good lighting versus poor lighting. Brand 3D experts can also create custom HDRI lighting presets to import and use in VStitcher. We'll cover these settings in more detail in the next lesson. Let's take a look at our outfit now, using the V-Ray rendering preview in the 3D window. As we look at the outfit, we ask, is the lighting suitable? Do the garments have any visible collisions? Do the materials look realistic with the chosen maps? Do the 3D maps simulate as they should? And are the seams and stitch construction suitable for these garments? After we make any final changes to our garments, we can prepare to export a test render. If our brand or client uses specific render settings, we can use those presets. Otherwise, we can create a new render preset to ensure that our rendering outputs are uniform. In this first example, we will render a 3D turntable. First, we select V-Ray Ray Trace for our render type, then select our preferred render quality option from the drop-down menu below. Note that this selection will affect the overall render quality, file size, and the total time needed to produce the turntable. For StyleZone uploads, it is recommended to use medium quality or higher to maintain garment details. For a higher quality turntable, we can also use the detailed option or use custom settings if we would like to render more views and be able to zoom in closer to the garments. Next, we check the preview window to assure that the entire outfit is displayed and centered. We want to avoid having the garments cut off when the turntable is rotated. Here's a tip. The camera views at the top of the preview window can be used to quickly check the preview. At this point, our turntable looks ready to go. To begin rendering, we select Render. When we do a still image render, we'll start by checking that we still have selected V-Ray Ray Trace Render, and use a quality setting of medium or higher. We also want to ensure that our image size is large. We recommend using about 1800 pixels by 1800 pixels for our dimensions. It is also best to use a large DPI for higher resolution and less pixelation. We recommend a DPI of about 300. We can use the default 3D camera views and customize camera views to render multiple images. Select multiple colorways or multipack if needed, then click Render. Once the render process is complete, and we can validate that the output is sufficient quality for StyleZone, we can move on to uploading the style. There will be one final step before the style can be uploaded to the platform, but we will cover that in the next video. For more information on rendering, we invite you to visit the Browseware Help Center.